Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Together San Diego. I'm Luis Cruz, Community Relations Director for the San Diego Union-Tribune. Starting February 15th, property tax changes from Proposition 19 may impact your family. Today, we're going to learn steps you can take now to preserve your family's low property taxes on residential and commercial properties. And to break it all down for us is Jordan Z. Marks, taxpayer advocate at the Ernest J. Dronenberg San Diego County Assessor, Recorder, and County Clerk's Office. Jordan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much, Luis. And I really want to say thank you to the Union-Tribune for making sure that the folks of San Diego have the information they need to protect them as these swift property tax changes come into effect.
Right. No, it's such an important topic. Let's start with, if you can just tell us what the Assessor, Recorder, County Clerk's Office does.
Well, there's three main functions that we have here. We're at the County of San Diego, and Ernest J. Dronenberg is your elected Assessor, Recorder, Clerk. The Assessor examines all real and personal property, so business personal property. So we look at over 1 million parcels in the County of San Diego annually for property tax purposes. We also look at planes and boats and even the penguins over at SeaWorld. We're pretty good at chasing those folks around once a year. The second is we're the recorder. We record all birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates, and the deeds that we're going to be talking about today for Prop 19. And lastly, Ernie is the Commissioner of Civil Marriages as the county clerk. So we issue marriage licenses. We actually issue about 24,000 marriage licenses a year and perform about half of those ceremonies here at our offices. So if you got married in San Diego County, it was probably a license issued by our office, and we're really happy to do that for the folks of San Diego County.
All right. Well, before we begin discussing Proposition 19, it appears we have to understand Proposition 13. Can you explain Prop 13 and how our property tax system in California works?
Absolutely. So in 1978, the voters of California passed Proposition 13. And when Prop 13 was passed, it essentially became an agreement between you, the property purchaser, and the government in a fair and open market transaction that said, when I buy a property, I know that I can afford to pay 1% of that property value, that's that purchase price, for the rest of the life of the property as long as I own it. And it can go up to 2% of that value per year. That's what's called the assessed value that we're going to be talking about. So for example, Luis, if you had bought a home, as we see on the example, for $450,000, you'd be paying $4,500 a year in property taxes, or 1%. And the next year, and we've seen this in the real estate market, it went up to $600,000. Congratulations. But because of Prop 13, you know that your property taxes are affordable, budgetable, and predictable. It only went up that 2%, that smooth line, and you didn't pay a $1,500 increase. That's the beauty of Prop 13. But after Prop 13 was passed, the voters passed Prop 8, which said if the property tax, if the value in the market went below that assessed value, that purchase price plus 2% per year, we could reduce your property taxes. And actually in 2010, we did that for about 300,000 property owners. We lowered their property taxes by lowering their assessed value. And as the market returns, and you can see where that star hits, it never exceeds that Prop 13 cap. And so what we're going to be talking about are those Prop 13 locked-in prices. So while the market's gone up, you've had affordable, budgetable, and predictable property taxes thanks to Prop 13.
Okay. Well, and you mentioned the idea of assessed value. Where can people find the assessed value on their property?
That's a great question, Luis. So when we're talking about your personal property, you can go to the San Diego County Treasurer Tax Collector's Office, Dan McAllister, www.sdttc.com, and choose to pay your bill. It's a public document. And then you enter in your address or your assessor parcel number, and you're going to find where you can see that arrow's pointing out the taxable value. So in this case right here on this bill, the home property is being taxed at $252,993 of assessed value. Even if it's worth $1 million, that's what they're paying their taxes, which is about a $2,500 bill. So that's where you're going to see how much you're saving. Versus other states that don't have Prop 13 and they pay at market rate every year, we don't do that. You pay based on your locked-in assessed value. And so there's where you can find it, and it's going to be very helpful for our discussion today.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. So Prop 19, the Home Protection for Seniors, Severely Disabled Families, and Victims of Wildfire or Natural Disasters Act passed in November of 2020 by the voters. Why is this change happening so fast?
Well, and by the way, I think they tried to put unicorns and lollipops on that title because it just sounds so good. But, and I'm sorry, could you repeat that question again? Because I hear that title and I'm like, who didn't we help save by passing this initiative?
Yeah, why is Prop 19 happening so fast?
Well, okay, so in November, you, the voters, passed this initiative, and in it, it said that on February 15th, we're going to see the first change happen to parent-to-child transfer. So the reason why it wasn't something that the state said, hey, we're going to do it this quickly, it was there when they wrote the initiative, and the voters are like, that's cool, let's do this. And so that's why, for some of you that are kind of scrambling today to handle Prop 19 and your estate planning, it's a voter initiative, and that's the guideline and timeline that they set forward in that. So some have asked, can the legislature slow this down and delay? And the answer is no. We're going to have to act quickly, and we're going to help you get there today.
All right. Now, there are two parts to Prop 19 most of our viewers are interested in. First, the parent-to-child property tax transfer, and then the senior benefits. Can you walk us through the changes to the family residences, second homes, and investment properties that take place after February 15th as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first part we're looking at is your parent-to-child transfer. And in the state of California, you as a property owner, and if it's on your primary residence or other properties, those are your businesses or your second apartments or homes, you can give your kids and pass them the property and then also give them that low tax base. It's an affordable housing tool. It's an affordable tool for wealth building here in California. And so actually, just to be kind of honest, and you can see on the screen, it's also called the grandparent to grandchild. Now, some people ask, why do they have a parent to child and grandparent to grandchild? Well, somewhere along the line, I imagine there was a grandparent that loved their grandkids so much they kind of killed their kids. I know sometimes, but we don't want to do that. Just joking. Yeah, that's a district attorney issue if you go and kill your kids because you love your grandkids so much. But in the state of California, you can pass it from a parent to child, or if on that unfortunate circumstance happens where the child is deceased, the grandparent can then, and only in that circumstance, give it to the grandchild. So we kind of lump them together. And the rules that are in place until February 15th, and that's the operative date, you have to have everything done on or before February 15th, is that you get to give your kids an unlimited transfer of assessed value on your primary residence. So on your main home, doesn't matter what the value is, and it doesn't matter what the assessed value is, you can give it to your kids. And I've seen folks with an assessed value of $100,000 or $1,000 tax bill a year give their kids a $2 million property or a $20,000 tax bill. So the kids don't pay the $20,000 when you give it to them. They only continue to pay $1,000, and that's a big savings, and that's wealth building opportunity. Two, under the current rules, there's no requirements that your kids live in the property. So if your kids are out of state, or if they have another property, or they want to rent it out and make that a wealth building opportunity, they have that opportunity today until February 15th. And then also you get $1 million of assessed value. Remember, that's the number on the tax bill we just showed you. You get to add up those amounts up until $1 million, and you could give them in other properties. So as you can see, that's a business storefront, a small restaurant that you bought as a family. It could also be a second property, whether it's a vacation property, or it could be a condo that you bought while your kids were attending UCSD. All of those that are not your primary residence, you get to pass to your kids today. And so the reason the assessed value number is important is it doesn't look at the market value. It only looks at what you're paying in tax value today, and it keeps it the same for your kids so they can continue to live here in San Diego and afford to build wealth for you and your family and thrive here in California.
So then what happens, though, after? What are some of the changes after February 15th?
After February 15th, we're going to see that unlimited transfer on the primary residence. It gets limited to $1 million of market value. So remember, we talked assessed value before. That's the number on your tax bill. Now we start to look at actually how much the home is worth, and you get that plus the assessed value. So for example, again, if we looked at that $2 million property, or they'd be paying $20,000, now you get to deduct $1 million off plus that $200 of the assessed value, and it increases the tax bill $8,000 a year. I know these are a lot of numbers and they're confusing, but I'm going to tell you our office, the assessor's office, and my office of taxpayer advocacy is here to help you, and we're going to walk you through this. So Again, we're switching from the old rules of assessed value to now you're limited to only the primary residence, and it's based on $1 million more of market value above your assessed value. Plus now your kids have to live in the property. If they don't live in the property, they don't get the benefit. It has to become their primary residence. And we believe that if they move out at any time or rent it, they're going to lose that benefit. And I'm going to get back to those words, we believe, Luis, because I'm sure you're cringing. Why is the guy in the government using the words we believe? Don't you use the rules and write it? I'll get back to that in a minute, if that's all right.
All right.
The other part is, you remember that $1 million of other property, the commercial property, your family business? Remember that second property that you bought while the kids were in college? Or that home that you purchased next door to yours so that your kids can live nearby? Because we see lots of families leaving California, for younger families, for new jobs. That all disappears after February 15th. And so if you have a second home that you purchased for your kids next door and you give that to them, the taxes go up on that to market value. And lastly, remember I said the kids have to live in the property? Well, they have to have a homeowner's exemption. That is a form filed under penalty of perjury within 1 year. So, and the reason this happened, I know you all are probably wondering about this dude, the guy that's hanging out over there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, The Big Lebowski is a very fun movie, and Jeff Bridges is the star of that, and he's called The Dude. Well, the dude is the reason actually that these rules were kind of inspired. His dad was a famous movie star, so I know the Bridges family is multi-generationally known in Hollywood, and his dad bought a bunch of property out in Malibu, and so he has a $300 million property, or if you do that at 1%, I know you all are running the numbers now, that's a $300,000 annual tax bill. He's paying about $20,000 on that because his parents passed him that opportunity. Now, not all of us are Hollywood stars, and most of the folks that we see are building generational wealth are people like my parents that immigrated to America, and they didn't have a 401k, but they knew to buy a home. And so these are the folks that are going to be impacted. But after February 15th, the dude must abide. And if you haven't seen The Big Lebowski, watch it, and you'll find that line to be even funnier. Is it okay if I just get back to the we believe comment? Because I know that's still kind of itching on you probably, Luis. Well, the we believe comment is because, remember, in November this passed, and we have to implement it by February. The legislature hasn't written all the rules yet. And so my boss, Ernie Dronenberg, is actually the president of the California Assessors Association. That means all of his colleagues said, hey, you get elected president this year to represent us. And he's working with the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor's office to try to get some rules passed quickly. But we got 2 weeks to get this done. It's happening fast, and I'm afraid they're not going to get there in time.
Yeah.
So the advice we're giving you today is based on San Diego County and what we believe, and honestly what we're going to honor. So anything I say today, you can take to the bank here in San Diego County, but some other assessors in other counties are interpreting it differently. And so it's important that whatever county you're in or where your property is, that you check the rules that they're interpreting and how they're going to administer it there.
All right, we have a couple of viewer comments, a comment and a question. This viewer says, Jordan, rocking the dad jokes. So thank you for watching. Jan Livingston has a question here. She says, this proposition was misleading. Never said this would happen. Why wasn't this disclosed on the ballot? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that there are some benefits that did come from Prop 19. And, jokingly, when you read the title, we're helping the severely disabled and the wildfire victims and the seniors. And I think there are some benefits, and we can get into those in a little bit. Sure. And we'll talk about what those look like. But yeah, I mean, the fine print is important. And I think that this is a stark reminder to voters that this is their choice. And so we should constantly be reading everything with a fine-tooth comb. And, in all fairness, our office educated on facts. And that's what we do. We try to put out the facts beforehand and not tell you which way to go, but make a decision that's best for the community.
Okay. So what sorts of questions should viewers be asking themselves before they decide to make any changes?
Yeah, because I'm sure folks are thinking, hey, you can see behind me over here is my son. And That's what we do this for. We do this for our kids. We try to build a better opportunity. And the questions that you have to ask yourself are, do your kids plan on moving into your home? If they do, and it's going to be their primary residence, most homeowners are going to be covered by that $1 million of market value. So don't rush out and don't kill yourself. It's a tough conversation. Two, if you have a restaurant business and you own the property and you're saying, hey, kids, are you going to take over the business? No, if you're going to sell it at the end, then don't rush out and kill yourself. This is if maybe you have an apartment rental and the kids want to continue that family business, or they have a small print shop business, they want to continue that family business, or they want to continue to have that beach home that maybe you use or that place in Big Bear Lake. Then you should want to do this because you can go ahead and save a tremendous amount on property taxes, depending on the difference between that assessed value, that's the one on your property tax bill, and the market value. That difference at 1% is what the taxes are going to go up. So ask yourself, are your kids going to want to keep the places? If they're going to sell it at the end of the day, don't do it. Don't kill yourself. But it's a good conversation to have with your family, and you have to have it quickly.
Okay. What steps can San Diegans take today to stay under the more favorable current rules that end after February 15th?
So in order to stay under the current rules, you have to have a change of ownership. There has to actually be a place on which the property changes hands. And so we see a number of different ways that folks can do this. Write this down. This is going to be very helpful when you talk to your professionals. And I always say there are professionals you're going to need to engage. But for your state attorneys that are doing your family planning, ask them about a grantor trust, an irrevocable trust. And then also there's potential for long-term leases that can all help you accomplish saving these low property tax bases for your kids and help them with their generational wealth building.
All right. So if you have a trust or an LLC, you could be protected.
Whoa. Appreciate you asking that question, Luis, because that's a great question. There's specific trusts that I just said, a grantor trust, an irrevocable trust. What we see commonly in the market is most folks have a living trust or a revocable trust. What that means is you're writing your documents and all of a sudden you're like, tomorrow, I don't like my kids. I'm going to revoke it. I'm going to take it away. Like, we've never seen that happen with our families. I think my mom calls me once a week and says, you're in the trust, you're out of the trust. Okay. But once it becomes an irrevocable trust, you can't do that. You can't revoke it, and automatically we assume the property is now mine. And so if you have a property in a trust, good news, you don't have to take it out of the trust to transfer it to your kids. You can transfer it directly from the trust and work with them on that. But if it's in an LLC, that's not a human being. Now, I once had somebody tell me that their LLC raised them. It was a very awkward conversation. I don't know where they were raised, but there are ways to move the property out of the LLC and not get reassessed if the ownership stays the same. And you can call our office and we're going to help you through this. And then you transfer it to the kids and then they put it back in an LLC. But essentially you have to give the property and it has to change ownership today. And that has to be in effect before February 16th. So I always use the February 15th date because I used to think about myself in 8th grade. What would I think? Tell myself the day and the last time and make it easier to remember. February 15th. That's the day to do it. But I'm going to give you a tip, and this is why the UT is so great. February 15th is a holiday. We're closed that day. So make sure you're acting as quickly as possible, and we have the time to help you.
All right. We may have some family farmers watching. Wasn't there something that specifically addressed the family farm?
Oh, yeah, the family farmers. The Farm Bureau, which represents family farms, said, hey, we're an extinct crowd. We're having a hard time. Help us out. And they did. So here's the tip for you family farmers out there. And we have some lovely family farmers. Wonderful coffee in Oceanside. Delicious food from Ramona. Even cheese and wine and grapes. So for you family farmers out there, if you act now, I feel like I'm a salesman on TV. Act now, but here's what you need to do before February 15th. You get to give your kids unlimited on the primary residence that's on the family farm. Then you get to give them $1 million of other assessed value. Those could be the sales stand and the other places around the family farm. And then after February 15th, you get an additional $1 million of farmland. So it can't be a corporation. It can't be an LLC. It has to be owned by the folks, and it has to be a true family farm. But we're going to help you through it. And if you do take action today, you're going to save your family a lot of money in the future. And farming doesn't have a tremendous spread on the money that you make. So every dollar will count, and we want to make sure you can afford to operate, because I'm sure, Luis, you probably have a favorite family farm here in San Diego County. I just saw the ugly vegetable box delivery. So I want to keep that affordable so my kids can eat healthy, and we're going to help you, the family farmers.
All right. Let's see. We got Victoria Jean asking for a clarification here. Did you say revocable trust does not apply?
That's right, Victoria. If you benefit, or if you can tell your kids, I'm taking it back, it's revocable and you haven't really transferred ownership to them. But you don't have to take it out of a trust. It can transfer directly from the trust to your kids. Or what a revocable trust does is allows you to have transferred to the kids for California property tax purposes. And they also get to not lose some important IRS benefits. That's called the step up in basis. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, what's that? Well, this is another term you're going to need to write down. And remember, I said you're going to have to talk to professionals. I'm the California property tax guy. You need to talk to an estate attorney. You need to talk to a CPA professional on the IRS implications on moving property around. And so a step up in basis is an income tax term that talks about capital gains, right? If you make an investment, you pay a significant tax, 25% on capital gains. So everything that you sell that investment property for, that other property, or even your home after a certain amount is exempted, your kids are going to pay capital gains tax. But when you pass, that is evaporated and your kids get the property at market value. And if they sell it that same day, they don't pay capital gains tax. Again, these are things I'm just telling you to write down. For your CPA, and now this is the tip, you're going to have to talk about a step up in basis.
All right. So you mentioned that there were some high recording levels at your office, but you're also closed for over-the-counter services. So how do all these people record their documents by February 15th, which is also a holiday, and you're closed?
Well, I'll tell you, Luis, the call center here at the assessor's office is ringing off the hook. And the number one question, how do I record on time? Because like you said, because of the pandemic, we're closed for over-the-counter service until the health officer allows us to open our office. Well, don't worry. We know the rules. We're your experts and professionals, and we have interpreted the rules to say it does not have to record by the February 15th date. It has to just be notarized and delivered. And like Luis is just showing you, we're at record high recording. I mean, it's refi madness out there. I know some of you think you heard something else. It wasn't reefer madness. It's refi madness. The rates are low. Take advantage of it. It's great. I just saved $150 on my monthly payment. But that means that our recordings have gone from about 600,000 to 700,000 a year to almost 1 million. It's crazy. We're calling it Slam Diego because we're hitting a grand slam for the taxpayers. But here's the deal. We want to get there on your recorded documents, and our promise, and we are a county that is committed to the same day recording. We also are committed to making sure you have the facts. And the facts are, and this is what we honor here in San Diego County. Not every county is honoring this. They're going by the recording date in other counties. But in San Diego, if you notarize the document and you deliver it, not to me, but to the person that you're giving the property to, and then they record it, even if it's after February 15th, don't worry. We're going to honor that, and we're going to give you the benefits of that parent-to-child transfer. You just have to make sure, again, notary and deliver, that's the legal requirements, and we're honoring that. And I'm not telling you to wait. You still have to record within 3 years, but for your benefit, record right away so we can get you through and make sure you get taken care of immediately.
All right. Let's see. Victoria Jean has another question here. Let's see. Actually, we addressed that question. Let's go back to Jan Livingston. She had a question. How can a state proposition be interpreted differently by each county?
That is a great question. Jan, it's not necessarily the initiative, but there's two parts. One is what the initiative says and what the initiative doesn't say. So in the initiative, if they wrote something and the language is ambiguous, then we have to make a decision of the way we think the law is based on past practices. And in San Diego County, our chief deputy assessor has 30 years of experience. Your elected assessor, Ernie Dronenberg, has 40 years in experience. And I'm the young guy. I got 10 years of experience. And I'm an attorney. And we sit there together And they do this in every county, but each elected assessor has to be confident that the decision they're making will be legally upheld. And so while there's some gray areas in the language, there's also gray areas that arise from the questions that were not addressed. And so we try to work together cohesively. And until the state has definitive rules, we think we have to pass and honor what's going to be. In San Diego County, we go most taxpayer friendly. The tie in the county always goes to the taxpayer. Customer service is number one, and we believe being fair to the taxpayer is number one. But in some other counties where they're being more conservative and saying, hey, this is what we think the rules are, that is their administrative judgment that's allowed by the law.
Okay. Jordan, you also said Prop 19 protects seniors. How does it do that?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's talk about the positive sides of Prop 19 in another way. So for the seniors, under the current rules, you have what's called Prop 60 and Prop 90. Those allow you to move your tax base one time into another home, another primary residence, and replace it. But here's the great news. Prop 19, and they talk about this, protects seniors by expanding their tax benefits. So now if you're a senior, which is over 55, now I got to clarify, that is the state's definition, that is the initiative writer's definition. I don't believe 55 is a senior, but we're going to go with that for this issue here. Now you three times you can replace your primary residence with another primary residence. So again, that requires a buy or sell or a sell and buy. And there's no cap. Under the old rules that are in place until April 1st, that's the operative date, there's a cap on it. And we saw a lot of folks that wanted to buy above the cap. And the old cap was sales price plus 5% in the first year and 10% in the second year. Now there's no more cap. You can go and buy a more expensive place or a less expensive place and still keep that low assessed value. You still have to do the deal within 2 years. And here's the other thing, Luis. It used to be only a few other counties that would let you move around. Now it's statewide. You don't have to guess where you can move in California. You have that ability to portable, low tax base. You can take it with you wherever you want to go in the state of California. Some people ask me, can I take it to Arizona or can I take it to Nevada? No, you got to stay in California. But don't worry. Here it now makes it more affordable to move around. So for example, I'll just use this easy numbers. Let's say you were paying that $200,000 tax bill that we saw in the example. That's a $2,000 tax bill a year and the property is worth $1 million. You can now go buy another property for $1 million and still pay that low $2,000 tax bill. Also, let's say you want to buy more expensive than $1 million. Well, whatever that difference is, we just add it on and that becomes the market blended assessment rate. So if you sell your place for $1 million and you buy another place for $1.2 million, or which would have been a $12,000 tax bill, we now take that extra $2,000, add it onto your old tax bill, and now your tax bill is $4,000, saving you $8,000 a year. It's wonderful because at some point, Luis, I'm a move-up buyer. I have a young 1-year-old toddler, my wife, and we're going to expand. And over the years, we might need a 4-bedroom house. But at 55, hopefully the kids have moved on and they've gotten their own places. We can then downsize into something that upgrades our lifestyle without increasing our property taxes. And so Prop 19 created this expansive protection for seniors to say you can stay in California and keep affordable home ownership taxes.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jordan. I don't know if calling someone who's 55 a senior is a plus or a negative in this case. I mean, it seems like a plus in this case.
I feel like the Facebook comments on that might not be so positive, But
yeah,
if it lets you, think about it 3 times in your life. At 55, you're at one stage. At 65, you might be at another stage. And at 75, you may be thinking, how do I help my kids buy a place and move into the casita and back?
Yeah. Now, you also said Prop 19 helps severely disabled and victims of wildfires. Can you talk about how it helps them?
Absolutely. So remember we talked about the senior rules becoming statewide? Well, they did the same thing for severely disabled as well. So let's say you were in a car accident. Let's say you had you came back from Iraq or Afghanistan, were serving our country, and the property you had was a 3-story condo. You need a 1-story ranch house. We can go ahead now and allow you to replace the property, and you can move anywhere you want statewide. Before, it was only the counties that adopted it. And also for wildfire victims. in the, San Diego County, actually, when the Butte fire happened in Northern California, the equivalent of the town of San Marcos burned down. Can you imagine?
Mm.
San Marcos burns down. They had no housing stock, nowhere to live. People were paying $1,200 to live in their neighbor's backyard with a tarp and a twig, and that's where they were housing their families. It was crazy. And one family came to us and approached myself and my boss Ernie Dronenberg and said, "Your county hasn't adopted this proposition to allow us to bring our tax base down here. We shouldn't be punished for having to rebuild after a wildfire." And really, it's wildfire, floods. I thought after last year's pandemic, we were going to see locusts. And if the governor declared it a biblical emergency, we would have had to be able to transport that taxes too. But imagine you got nowhere to go. Well, we wanted to say, hey, welcome to San Diego. We understand what it's like to be a fire victim. We want to make sure that you're not punished for rebuilding here. And we're going to allow you to keep your taxes that you had before. And so while we had to take that extra step here in San Diego County, and we're proud to do that, now Prop 19 made it uniform statewide. So if there's a flood in Santa Barbara, a mudslide, I thought we were going to see a tsunami the other day from all that wind that was blowing. Yeah. No matter what happens, we're here to help you. And this makes it a little bit easier to help those folks that are having to rebuild after a natural disaster.
Yes, definitely. Jordan, let's go to some viewer comments and questions. Russell Lowry says, appreciate you getting factual information out there. Russell, thanks for watching.
We're here to help.
Megan Truitt says she lived in Paradise in the 90s. So sad to see it all burned down. I actually started my reporting career in the Chico Redding area and covered Paradise. Beautiful area. I agree with Megan on that point. Let's see here. I think Tara has a question here. Let's see. Just to clarify, Prop 13 can only, I'm not sure if they're talking about Prop 13 or 19 here, can only be passed.
They're asking whether the low Prop 13 property taxes, that locked-in rate, can only be passed to grandchildren if their parents are deceased. I'm not telling you to go and toss your parents out a window because your grandparents can give you the low tax base. But yes, if that unfortunate accident happens where a parent is deceased, that is the only way a grandparent can then give it to the grandchild. Otherwise, they have to give it to your parents and then they can give it to you. And if they're going to do that, it's a great opportunity now, but you have to act quickly. And then you're going to have that low tax base for years to come.
Okay. Let's see. This is, I'm not sure if this is more of a comment or a question. We'll see. Eddie Duval, I've tried to call a couple of California lawmakers for more info regarding Proposition 19 and parent-child, and their offices haven't called back with more info. Another lawmaker said the guidance will be out mid-February, but the paperwork is due on the 15th.
It's a sad state right now, Eddie, but it's a tough, we have been, and Assessor Dronenberg has been working day and night to pass. We drafted legislation and we're doing our part. Not only are we doing it for the citizens of San Diego County, but we're also doing it for everybody that lives in California that is having to make tough decisions right now without knowing all the rules. But that's why this is important that Luis is here and the team from the Union-Tribune, because we wanted to tell you in San Diego County with a real firm belief, we're going to honor everything that I've told you today. And you can always contact our office. And I think I'll get you my information before the end of this presentation and conversation. But that's the importance of this conversation. I want you to know that everything I'm telling you, you can make your decisions comfortably with, being like, I heard it from Jordan, I heard it from the assessor's office, and we're going to help you and your professionals get you there in a way that will not hurt you and your family. We want to help you build your wealth and grow and thrive here in San Diego.
Yeah, Jordan, this has been very informative. Jan, I think, agrees. Thank you for all the information. Astrid says thank you. So
one of the questions that I get is, well, I got to wait until Prop 19 passes so I can do my senior transfer. And so I always tell folks, read the current rules. And if you qualify now, go ahead and do the transaction. You don't need to wait for the current rules to apply. Somebody was like, well, I want to move to somewhere else in San Diego and sell my home. I said, okay, how much do you want to sell your home for? Well, I think I'm going to sell it for $1 million. Great. And how much do you want to buy your next replacement property for? Well, they're like, I'm retiring. I want to take $100,000 and put it in my savings, so it'll be for less. Well, the current rules allow you to do that right now. And they're like, well, won't it only allow me one time? What if I already do it? We believe, and again, this is a strong belief, that you're still going to get multiple times afterwards. It may only be the 2 more times, but we don't think that you're going to be punished for having done your transaction under the current rules and not get those extended multiple times to transfer. So go ahead, if you qualify now, we know that there's a lot of transactions in the market that are holding off and waiting. Do the deal. Get that comfortable place because the market is hot. I'm sure Luis is going to tell you property prices are going through the roof. I saw it, I read in the Union-Tribune, they're going to be up 8% this next year. So if you have a deal and you qualify, do the deal and you'll still get the extra benefits. Actually, I'll tell you something funny, Luis. One of the things that we get are divorced couples, actually, because under the old rules, only one person in the divorce got to take the low tax base with them. So you're thinking, I'm fighting over the kids, I'm fighting over the teapot, and now I'm fighting over the property taxes. Well, don't worry, you don't have to fight anymore. The new rules are going to allow you and each one of you to get multiple chances afterwards. We believe that's what's going to be the case once it's written, and that's what we're advocating for. So for those of you in the divorce right now, stop fighting over the property taxes. I can't do anything about the kids and the teacup, though.
All right. Let's see. I think we have time for maybe one more question here from Kelly. For the transfer rule, do both owners, husband and wife, have to be 55?
Great question, Kelly. I'm going to give you two answers there, and one of them you're going to love. The answer is no. The person has to be over 50. I'm going to be 55 before my wife turns 55. As long as I get there, I'm going to qualify. But also, I'm going to give you a really cool thing that I saw somebody do, and this might help trigger some of your thoughts. I had a realtor out of Los Angeles, and they had a property that they were paying $5,000 a year in taxes. The property is worth $3 million or $30,000 a year in tax. That's a $25,000 difference. They used the senior transfer and brought the property value down here to San Diego, and they bought a new property with their kids. You don't have to be 100% owner. So they added their kids on title with them, brought over the low property taxes, bought a property over here in San Diego for $3 million. Now they're only still paying $5,000. She took the casita in back. She's got her grandkids in the front house. And then she gave her kids a parent-to-child transfer. So you can do senior transfers and then do a parent-to-child. But you can't do a parent-to-child because once you do that and give it away, you can't do the senior portion. But that is wealth building and opportunity. And that's what we want to give you the tools to do. So that way, we want to keep families together. We want to keep people growing and thriving here in San Diego. And this is another way to do that.
All right. All right. Lots of great information. So if viewers have additional questions, how can they reach you?
Well, please call us at the assessor's office. We are a resource for you. In fact, we set up a specific email address, and I really encourage you to use it. Because right now, you're getting that first bite at the apple, but you're going to get a second one. You're going to have questions, and you're going to want to know what the rules are. Because as one of the viewers highlighted, it's different in every county, and we're not sure what it is. Email us. We're going to put it in writing. We're going to make you feel comfortable. Prop19 at sdcounty.ca.gov. That's Prop19 at sdcounty.ca.gov. I've also included my cell phone. As your taxpayer advocate, I feel I should always be available to you. I will say, since I've had a toddler, my wife might disagree a little bit. So please keep the calls and text messages till after 8 a.m. or before 7 p.m. And some of you are like, oh, okay. Well, no, really. My wife's a good divorce attorney, and she said, if I don't honor that, I'm going to learn what she does for a living. So don't get me in trouble, please. Also, you have my email address if you have any other questions. But email us. We have 4 experts, the top folks from my office, ready to answer your questions at prop19 at sdcounty.ca.gov. You're going to get it in writing. And I'll tell you, that is important when you're working with government. Get it in writing or it doesn't count. As a taxpayer advocate, that's my number one tip.
All right. Jordan, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to express my gratitude and thanks for you, Luis, and the Union-Tribune. We know this is a difficult time, but getting this information out and making you, the viewers, feel more comfortable to help your family wealth and protect that, your business, your home, your property, the things that you've worked so hard to give your kids. Now you still get to give them that benefit, but you have to act quickly. We're here to help. And for the senior transfers after April 1st, don't worry. We're here to help you too, because you're going to love living in San Diego. It's a great place to live and raise your family and retire. And your San Diego County Assessor's Office is here to be a partner in that.
All right. It has been a very informative evening. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Luis.
All right, Jordan Z. Marks from the Taxpayer. He's a taxpayer advocate at the Ernest J. Dronenberg San Diego County Assessor, Recorder, and County Clerk's Office. Quite a mouthful there, but appreciate your time there. And thank you at home. Appreciate your time as well. Thank you at home for watching. Have a great evening, everybody.
News is more important today than ever before.
I'm currently outside Otay Mesa Detention Center.
I'm about to get a report at Sharp.
Out at Sunset Cliffs.
COVID testing site.
We live for these times when we're able to bring the news into the homes of people who need it the most.
I thank all of you for supporting our work.
When you subscribe to the paper, you're telling us that you believe in what we do.